All right, I call this one the beginning of a new epoch, the transformation of everything, and one of the biggest discoveries humanity will ever make, featuring Demis Hassabis of DeepMind. This is Otis 5D Reacts. All right, Demis, take it away, bro.
To me, it's been obvious for many, many years that AI, if it was possible, and it seems that it is, this general kind of human level AI we sometimes call artificial general intelligence, it would transform everything. So it will be at least as big as the Industrial Revolution, possibly bigger, more like the advent of electricity or even fire.
The advent of electricity or even fire. This is the guy who was behind the AlphaGo, right? I mean, among many other things, but just, so people thought Go is like this super advanced game, way more advanced than chess. And people thought a computer could never, win. And then that's like 8 years ago now. The AlphaGo, DeepMind, Go AI beat Go. So this guy is now saying this. So fast forward 8 years, and he's now saying, he's comparing the revolution we're in the middle of, or at least at the beginning of, to electricity and fire. And people are talking about sexy red. Take that in.
For many, many years, that AI, if it was possible, and it seems that it is, this general kind of human level AI we sometimes call artificial general intelligence, it would transform everything. So it will be at least as big as the Industrial Revolution, possibly bigger, more like the advent of electricity or even fire. I think it has the potential to be one of the biggest inventions humanity will ever make. I think building this in a general way. These systems, they're not sector specific, they're not domain specific. Whatever kind of data you put in, if there's structure in that data, these systems can potentially learn about them. And so I'm very excited about using AI for everyday productive tasks. So, amazing digital assistants, reimagining the workflow. I think over the next 5-10 years, we're going to see incredible gains in productivity, both in the personal domain, but also in the work environment. But then the number one thing I'm most passionate about, and I've always wanted to build AI for, is to accelerate scientific discovery itself. And we've led the way in that. And probably the most famous example of that is our program AlphaFold, which solved the problem of 50-year kind of grand challenge of what's called protein folding, determining the structure, the 3D structure of a protein just from its amino acid sequence, its genetic sequence, which has huge implications in drug discovery and disease understanding. And I think that's just one example of what we're going to see in the next decade of many scientific breakthroughs in areas like energy, material science, mathematics, weather prediction, and climate, all sorts of areas, healthcare, that AI is going to be instrumental in.
Shout out to Zarnik. Zarnik real goated these days. Follow Zarnik on Twitter. So, damn, man. It's like, bro, Otis, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, what are you going to add to this? Like, just shut up, dude. Bro, it's like I just want to end the video. Like, okay, did you hear that? Did you see that? Do you realize? Like, okay, so one of my favorite things I've ever heard is about the idea that as a system gets closer to an end state, it becomes increasingly unpredictable. And the example that I heard this from was if sand is dropping in an hourglass, as it gets closer and closer to each granule of sand causing the entire little like pyramid that's been building up to collapse, it gets more, the turbulence increases, and it gets more and more difficult to predict which granule of sand will be the one that causes the phase change. I don't know if phase change is the right word, but hopefully you get it. And what's interesting is that when it collapses, it then goes into a more stable state, right? Because the base gets wider. And, that's where we're at right now. That's my analogy. Like we're like assassinations and cyber pandemics and fake pandemics and real pandemics and God knows what, fake money, fake news, real news, deep fakes. It's so much insanity that you just never know, right? Like you would have thought in the past, like in the time of September 11th, for those who were around in those days, like that changed everything, right? Like if that happened now, it would be the top story for like 10 days. And then, meaning the tension that had been built up would not release. So what I'm saying is that so they almost assassinate Trump, right? Come like a millimeter from assassinating Trump, but he's not assassinated. And then the thing goes on, and now they're back to attacking him and fighting political battles, and we got an election coming up, and now it's like, oh, is Biden going to drop out? And then what's Iran going to do? Did Iran and China and Russia and Israel and it's just more. And everyone feels it. No one feels like when each shoe drops, the Iranian president just dies out of nowhere. Like there's no feeling of like, okay, wow, let's take a minute and pause. It's like, no, more intensity. So, the transformation of everything. I think that, smart people right now, in my personal, not so humble opinion, are really spending a lot of time thinking about how their day-to-day life could and will be productively transformed by the rise of all of this technology, and are steering their ship in the direction of, benefiting from these developments. And it's a weird thing to take in that we are in the midst of something that is going to may so profoundly alter our lives that it's like we are like pre-electricity humans, and we're going through the electrification of our civilization. And like that means that the world is just going to be increasingly different. And, Alvin Toffler, who wrote a book many years ago called Future Shock, talked about the idea that the key skill of the 21st century will be unlearning and relearning, because many of the things that we have been taught to think about how life works are increasingly going to be, and maybe some already are, no longer relevant or efficacious for, living an optimal life, and thus need to be unlearned. But there's difficulty in that, especially after the age of 35, when, in at least theoretically, the brain loses some amount of plasticity. There's effort involved in unlearning and then relearning. And when you relearn, the other thing is that you're in the same boat as like 6-year-olds, right? So there's a certain amount of humility required to be willing to do that. But, again, I just think these are like the most important things happening. And I want to cultivate a community of people that agree and are also thinking about these things deeply and are passionate about them. So if that is you, go to my website and look for Otis 12D, my little community, and consider becoming a citizen. And because that's what I care about. I want to be talking about this stuff all the time. So if you are also such a person who wants to be talking about this stuff all the time and thinks about this stuff very deeply as well, then I am looking for you. So whew, I feel like doing these videos is just like this constant, like, stay buckled up. It's not just like buckle up. It's like stay buckled up, bro. Otis 5D reacts. Peace.
Otis5D.xyz.
Go fuck yourself.